Post conference on the topic of the future of food. My name is Janine Pakditam, your MC and moderator for the program. Food is at the heart of many of the world's environmental, social, and economic challenges. It is estimated by 2050, the global population will reach 10 billion. This means that in I would like to welcome you to the virtual Bangkok Post conference on the topic of the future of food. My name is Janine Pakditam, your MC and moderator for the program. Food is at the heart of many of the world's environmental, social, and economic challenges. It is estimated by 2050, the global population will reach 10 billion. This means that in order to feed everyone, it will take 56% more food than it is produced today. Bangkok Post Public Company Limited is Thailand's leading media firm consisting of Bangkok Post and Post Today brands. We have organized this online seminar to explore new ideas and host a meaningful discussion with dignitary and senior executive about innovative ways to produce food and develop Thailand's management strategy to maximize the sustainability of natural resources while enhancing cooperation between the government and the private sector. Before we get started, I would like to invite a senior executive from Bangkok Post to give a warm welcome to participants and viewers watching this program on Bangkok Post Facebook channel. Please join me in welcoming Khun Warachai Pichanjit, Vice Chairman of Bangkok Post Public Company Limited.
His Excellency Khun Waravut Silapa Acha, the Minister of Natural Resources and Environment, honorable speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. On behalf of the Bangkok Post, I would like to welcome you to the Bangkok Post Virtual Forum on the theme of the future of food. Let me begin very simply by telling you why we are here. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, or UNEP, by 2050, the global population is expected to hit 10 billion people. The UNEP estimates that we will require 56% more food than what is being produced in the world today. This has been due to the exponential increase in demand for food and natural resources beyond the acceptable limits. This could result in degradation of the ecosystem that serve as virtual natural resources as well as the agricultural sector itself. The increased demand for food presents us with both risks and opportunities. It prompts us to rethink the way we produce the thing and we eat and manage the demand for them. Moreover, innovations in technology and more food than have become crucial to the future of food production. We are here today to explore food security, food development, business opportunities, and what the future holds for Thailand amid the ongoing spread of the COVID-19. On behalf of Bangkok Post Public Company Limited, I would like to thank you for your support and for accepting our invitation to join us at this event. Welcome to the Bangkok Post Virtual Forum, the future of food. Thank you, and I wish you all an enjoyable and productive day.
Thank you, Kun Warachai Pijanjit, Vice Chairman of Bangkok Post Public Company Limited, for the introduction and the warm welcome. Now, it is my honor to introduce Minister of Natural Resources and Environment, His Excellency Warawut Silapa Asha. He'll be delivering his speech, his thoughts, and his vision on this vital topic.
Mr. Warachai Pijanjit, Vice Chairman of Bangkok Post, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Sawasdee krab. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the Bangkok Post Group for inviting me to participate in this timely conference. First of all, I'd just like to begin with a question. Has anyone online at this moment already had mango and sticky rice this season? If your answer is no, then you're certainly out of trend. And thanks to our lovely Millie, who marked the occasion of using the soft power to promote our good food and nice culture by eating our traditional Thai dessert of mango and sticky rice on stage at Coachella Festival in California last week. Could you believe that orders for mango and sticky rice through one of our popular food delivery applications have more than tripled within 24 hours after Millie's performance? Not only mango and sticky rice, but Thailand is also world famous for our delicious culinary offering, from starters to desserts and everything in between, which cooks from fresh local raw materials, including rice, vegetables, fruits, seafood, various kinds of meat and spices. That's why we have long been called the kitchen of the world. Such recognition stemmed from the combination of having abundant natural resources and appropriate climate for a year-round growing season. Now, you may all know that we are one of the largest net food exporters in the world, with a record value of about 1.1 trillion baht in 2021. We're also one of the world's top 10 producers of many important agricultural products, including rice, cassava, sugarcane, palm oil, coconut, pineapple, natural rubber, etc. And roughly 40 to 50% of the country is used for agricultural purposes. And moreover, the agricultural sector is still currently crucial for Thailand, which employs around 33% of Thailand's workforce and also contributing to about 8 to 12% of the country's GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been recognized for quite some time now that food is at the heart of many of the world's environment, social and economic challenges. Global food systems have made remarkable achievements by contributing to the significant reduction in global undernourishment. In fact, the future of food concept began nearly 15 years ago when genetically modified foods, or known as GMOs, were introduced into the United States. And now in 2022, the question of what and how will we be eating in the future is continuously evolving, because over 800 million people around the world are still undernourished, and an even greater number is expected to rise sharply due to insecure global food system. Recently, the global food system has unfortunately been threatened by the COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, and the triple planetary crises. This includes the climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution, especially chemical and plastic pollutions. The global food systems are not only dependent upon natural resources, but are also responsible for the vast majority of global land and water usage, as well as being one of the main producers of greenhouse gas emissions, which account for about 10 to 12% of the global share. But actually, substantial amounts of food are currently produced but not eaten by humans, resulting in undesirable impacts on the environment, social and economic, of course. According to the latest available data from Champion 12.3, about 8% of all food produced in the world is lost on the farm, 14% is lost between farm gate and retail sector, and 17% is wasted in the retail, food service providers, and in households. The UNEP's Food Waste Index report also found that household food services and retail waste about 931 million tons of food in 2019 alone, which is around 17% of all food available for human consumption. Amazingly, do you know that average household food waste is about 74 kilograms per person per year? Now, that's more than the body weight of a person. And over the past 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated food loss and waste by continually disrupting human food supply chain. The 2021 annual progress report on SDG target 12.3, food loss and waste, prepared by Champion 12.3, indicated that the global amount of food that is lost or wasted from the farm to fork is higher than previously calculated. The same report also provided the information that reducing food loss and waste by half would avoid about 1.5 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent emission per year by 2050. Now, in light of these impacts, reducing food loss and waste can generate multiple benefits. It can help feed more people, of course, increase saving for farmers, businesses, and households, and reduce pressure on the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, so what is the future of food? I am confident that by now you're all concerned about the global food crisis due to unimaginable situation which could create a whiplash effect in the food supply chain. The question at the top of our mind is whether Thai food system will be severely affected by the aforementioned threats. My answer is definitely a big yes. We shall be affected directly and indirectly from such threats in terms of higher prices of feed grains, fertilizers, and fuels, as well as climate change, as we are so vulnerable. However, as the kitchen of the world, which is enshrined with abundance of natural resources and appropriate climate, Thailand continues to be in the spotlight. I'm confident of that. Now, since we are currently in the UN Decade of Action in transforming food systems towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, with the concept of leaving no one behind, the UN Food Systems Summit was held during the UN General Assembly in New York last year, even before the war in Ukraine. Now, the summit resonated the critical need for a complete overhaul of the global food system in order to properly address the global food crisis. The commitment from leaders of more than 100 UN member states, including Thailand, has been a voice to the whole world. Our Prime Minister, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, addressed at the summit that Thailand aligns ourselves with the UN framework for food system transformation through the bio-circular green economy model, or BCG model, which has its root in sufficiency economy philosophy initiated by His Majesty King Rama IX the Great. The model, which focuses on food security and sustainability of nature and the environment, will be the driving engine to safeguard our food system, which will eventually contribute to the global food system. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment may not be the core agency responsible for the food system, but we are taking care of the fundamental factors for securing the food system, especially on biodiversity, land, and climate. Now, therefore, we've been working closely with other agencies, particularly the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives, in assuring the food security of our country. We've been working on investing and laying a solid foundation for BCG model for a while now. The National Biobank to conserve and ensure efficiently utilization of biodiversity resources to secure our future food has been established. A draft of Thailand's first Biodiversity Act is also in the process of the cabinet consideration. The bill will enhance Thailand's capacity to turn our biodiversity resources into products with added value while ensuring the right of community to wisely use biodiversity resources as their food, medical herbs, etc., etc. And furthermore, relevant acts such as 2019 Forestry Act, 2019 Wildlife Conservation and Protection, and the 2019 National Parks Act have been enacted in order to reduce land usage change caused by expanding agricultural activity, while allowing the local people and communities in the area surrounding the reserved forest, national parks, either terrestrial or marine, to sustainably use land and biodiversity as their sources of food and basic needs for their livelihood. However, Thailand is one of the most vulnerable countries to the adverse impacts of the climate change. And even though we are only contributing less than 1% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, only around 16% of the country's carbon dioxide emissions stem from agricultural sector. However, rice farming, and livestock accounted for more than 70% of the country's methane emissions. It is a matter of fact that our food system will be impacted by changing precipitation patterns, which cause extreme floods in some areas and more extensive drought periods in others, as occurred in my hometown, which is Suphanburi, last year. Of course, changes in average growing season conditions will put the agricultural sector at risk. Therefore, the National Climate Change Master Plan, which spanned from 2015 to 2050, has been formulated as the highest level of policy which focuses on the preparedness, both in adaptation and mitigation, as well as capacity building. The adaptation strategy in agriculture and food security is also highlighted. The National Adaptation Plan and our NDC, or the Nationally Determined Contribution, also identifies safeguarding of food security as a top priority, which emphasizes on creating resilience of agricultural sector with appropriate technology, innovation, and traditional knowledge. Such plans could help our farmers to adapt to the negative impacts of climate change, which will contribute to the stability of our food system. And in addition, the carbon credit system under the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement will encourage Thailand to reduce emissions overall. This will spill over to incentivize people in the food business to incorporate more greener solution. And furthermore, various laws have been enacted and implemented regarding water, air, and soil quality, as well as chemicals and waste management. Now, with the aforementioned measures, combined with the booming in agro-industry businesses, as well as a shift in the consumer interest towards sustainability, Thailand is well positioned as an investment destination. Ladies and gentlemen, investments are critically needed to improve the resilience of food system, not only to the COVID-19 or the war in Ukraine, but also the multitude of shocks from the triple planetary crisis, which have imposed significant effects to food and agricultural sector. The concept of invest in our planet as the theme of the Earth Day 2022 tremendously reflects that investment in the area of environment is a prerequisite for securing food system, and we have to invest, but not waste. The government has been working on investing in the food system transformation with a focus on knowledge and technology-based investment, which emphasizes on innovation and local wisdom. Our ministry, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, has also invested in several projects, not only in terms of budget, but also in the form of wisdom and cooperation through the public and private partnership. As a result, some of the exciting projects have already achieved significant results. And now allow me to share with you some of them. First and foremost, the Nong Phai groundwater project in Lao Kwan district, Kanchanaburi province, in which Their Majesty King Rama X and the Queen graciously presided over the opening ceremony on April the 3rd, earlier this month. The project will supply water to 37,600 households and 557,000 rai of non-irrigated farmland that produce high-value agricultural goods. The other groundwater exploring projects are conducted across the country in order to supply water to people for consumption and agricultural purposes. And second, the Nan Sandbox, where the government recognizes people's right to robust livelihood sustained by environmentally and economically supportive farming. The project is an innovative public and private venture committed to ending deforestation while securing food system and sustaining the environment through spreading new agricultural knowledge and practices, while encouraging people to reforest parts of the land back to the national forest. And third, the very important one, which is the Rice Nama project under the Thai-German cooperation, which has reached out to more than 100,000 rice farming households in shifting from the conventional wet paddies to the low-emission farming practices by alternately apply wet and dry systems to the rice paddies, which will eventually cause the significant reduction in the methane emission. The project also provides valuable incentive schemes and financial support, which empower the farmers to move towards the sustainable farming system that will eventually contribute to food security. And fourth, there are many pilot projects invested by the private sector, which will enable Thailand to remain in the spotlight. For example, the Invico Company Limited in Rayong province that invested about 2.5 billion baht in recycling food-grade plastic packagings that will contribute to the pathway of tackling plastic pollution while providing a better quality of food preservation. And another one is a PTTNR joint venture invested in the plant-based innovations, which will reduce methane emission and result in about 15 times less water utilization. The last but not least example is the insect farming, especially in the northeastern part of Thailand. How do you feel about consuming food or even snack bars made from insects? Of course, insect eating represents the future of food. In fact, it is already a common practice in majority part of Thailand. For food security purposes, insect farming is truly considered as the sustainable way to provide an ecologically viable food source to the world's population. Certain species of insects, typically crickets, grasshoppers, and mealworms, are becoming the talk of the town in the field of high-protein food products. Definitely not a yucky one. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, that food loss and waste is one of the major factors in intensifying the global food crisis. The same situation occurs in Thailand, of course. In 2021, it was estimated that food waste is at the rate of about 150 kilograms per capita per year. So yes, the burden of food waste and loss is heavy. Pretty much everyone listening here today has, I'm sure, wasted food in the last week. The 20-year strategic plan for pollution management calls for a clear strategy to reduce waste occurred across the entire food supply chain. The food waste management roadmap, with a target of about 50% food waste reduction by 2030, is therefore under formulating. Last week on Earth Day, our ministry, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, just signed an MOU with 30 companies and coffee shops to jointly promote a green cafe, aiming to reduce food waste and the amount of single-use plastics. I also invited restaurants, department stores, supermarkets, convenience stores across the country to engage in the campaign to reduce food waste through the donation program of leftover food to the vulnerable in need people or turn them into animal feeds. I do sincerely believe that everyone here could do more to reduce food waste in your organization or even starts at home. Now, ladies and gentlemen, may I conclude that even the overall global food system is jeopardized by many threats of our lifetime, but the future of food is still in our hands. I would say that business as usual is not an option. Major transformation in agricultural systems and natural resources management is seriously required to secure the food system. And I deeply believe that rejuvenated biodiversity, oil, soil, and water, as well as stable climate, is imperative for food security, both at the national and at the global levels. We just have to take good care of our nature, basically, and the rest nature will do for us. And in order to end my remark, I would like to reiterate a very important point, that eventually, in the end, the nature doesn't need the people. But on the other hand, people do need the nature. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you, His Excellency Varawut Silipa Asha. We appreciate your insight on the pressing food insecurity issue and Thailand's commitment in solving the issue. We're now entering the panel discussion part of the event. The rapid increase in the global population poses a significant challenge to food production. Unfortunately, there will not be enough agricultural space available to meet the growing food demand in the near future, given the kind of diet that people are eating in most countries today. So now, how do we manage the demand while ensuring that sufficient food can be sustainably and inexpensively produced? Our three experts from across the spectrum will be joining a panel and discussing future food trends and emerging business opportunity in the food sector. Please welcome Kun Paisan Aosathaporn, Managing Director of Bistro Asia, Kun Tom Kriosopon, the founder of Golden Triangle Health Company Limited, and Kun Santi Apakat, the CEO and co-founder of Tastebud Lab and BioBuddy. Pleasure to have you all with me today. I'm Janine Pakditam and I'll be moderating this session. It is clear that food is a big challenge for us as it impacts every aspect of our lives, from environment and society to the economy. It would be very beneficial to hear your outline of the problems and possible solution concerning the future of food and the consequences of consumer behavior patterns that will affect food production trends. Let's start by looking at the big picture and with an overview question. Please share your views about the future of food demands. I'll go to Kun Paisan first. Kun Paisan is working on turning on his microphone to answer our question about the overview of the future of food trends. You can turn on your microphone. Yeah. Wonderful, we can hear you now.
Hello.
Yeah, Kun Paisan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you can give me an overview of future food trends.
I'm sorry, I'm lost the signal.
No worries. We're interested in hearing your views about the future food trends. We're going to switch to another speaker while waiting for the technical difficulties to be solved. So, Kun Tom, hi. I'm wondering if you can share your views about the future of food demands. Kun Tom is calling in.
Hello, here we go.
Wonderful. I can hear
Future
you.
of food.
Yes.
Well, the good thing is, regardless of what may happen, people still got to eat. So the future of food is bright. And as the population grows, the demand on food is going to be tremendous. The impact of food and the environment is going to be tremendous. New kinds of food are going to have to be created. Our company, GTH, was actually recently taken over by a company called NRF. NRF is Asia's leading plant-based food company. So they took us over because we are the leading cannabis food company. And we think that alternative food, such as plant-based, such as herbal, are going to grow in the future. COVID has taught us one thing: health, 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 health. You've got to stay healthy. And the food you put into your body is the fuel that goes into your car. So if you're not putting healthy food into your body, things like COVID or what's going to come after COVID is going to have a tremendous effect on the way people think about eating. COVID has led to a positive thing for me. I am eating better. I am eating plant-based food. I am taking Thai herbal. I've lost 11 kilos.
Wow.
I haven't stopped eating. I'm just eating better food. So I think the future trend of food is going to be health. It's going to be things that help people get healthier. Obviously, tying that in with our environment, lowering our carbon footprint is going to be very important. The agricultural industry, just in Thailand alone, burns just as much or close to the fossil fuel business. So we need to learn how to grow our food better. How it impacts Thailand. The future of Thailand is very important, in regards to water management, in regards to weather. People don't think about this, but, global warming is real. And as global warming affects our situation, it's going to impact how we grow food. On a very short-term basis, the war in Ukraine with Russia is going to have a tremendous effect on the future of foods in the near future, getting things like corn and wheat. So again, I think food is a very important aspect of our lives. We don't really think about it because we just kind of go to McDonald's and order a hamburger, but we tend to forget where that hamburger comes from or where, what we're putting into our body. So the future of food on a business sense is very bright. As the population grows, people are going to need to eat. How you catch the new trend is, I believe in healthier food. I believe in herbal food. I believe in, and we'll talk about this a little bit, as I'm in the cannabis business. I believe in cannabis for Thailand, and this is going to be important. The future of people of Thailand. How do you make money off food if you're not one of the big conglomerates? Well, there are things like this. We make milk out of hemp. As you know, hemp is legal in Thailand. We actually make milk out of hemp that helps you to go to sleep at night. I think things like this are going to be the future of food. Functional, allowing people to be healthy, allowing them to create immune systems against whatever comes next after COVID. And on a personal basis, future of food is very bright. And Thailand is, as we all know, the kitchen to the world. We just need to figure out the right policy to ensure that people around the world are buying our food and that we don't lose to countries like Vietnam. We don't lose to states like Texas. We continue to be the leader in the food industry.
Thank you. Continuing to be a leader in the food industry. And congratulations on losing 11 kilos for eating healthier food. Yeah, it's a definitely.
And can I just add one thing?
Yes.
I used to exercise like crazy. I had a trainer. I went to all of these things. You know what ended up happening? I gained weight. Because I just, it's all about eating the right stuff. The future of food, it's going to be about eating the right stuff. I stopped exercising. I just eat the right stuff. And 11 kilos came down simply because I've eaten the right stuff. Imagine if your body was a car. You have to make a decision. Are you a van or are you a Ferrari? You wouldn't put the same kind of gas into a van as you would a Ferrari. And that's the future of food. It's finding that right fuel for people to optimize their ability to go out and perform their best every day.
Thank you. Perform their best every day. Now, I would like to go back to Kun Pai-san, if you can answer this question as well in terms of the future of food. What do you think about that?
Hello, yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, I'm back now. Sorry about that. Okay, well, according to the UN data, you will see that the world population is going to be hit about 10 billion in the year 2050. So what that means? That means that the consumption will be increased from 70% from now. So that the huge issue that where those products, how we're going to coming from, how we're going to feed this world, what the product that what we're going to eat in that year 2050. So that's a huge question. So according to the development plans that for the food industry, there's so many solutions that will come up with. One of the biggest issue will be food waste and food loss that we've been talking about earlier, and that's one of the biggest issue. And the second one is what we have is how we're going to prolong the product. How can we preserve the product that shelf life is much longer, or how we transform the product that we can have more in the future. So I think the future food will coming in, definitely will coming in many forms. is not just only to for physical, but it also for mentally as well. So the future food, and we're talking about the substitution food, we're talking about the biotic food, we're talking about green food, we're talking about plant-based. There's so many solutions that all the food industry is working on it. And currently that probably we see some already on the shelf and also been getting popular by the new generation. So those new generation been driving with this new trend and also spreading to the, especially on the Gen Z and millennium, will be spread out to all the baby boomer and the other generation as well. So I think we will definitely see more in terms of the future food. Then we will talk more about what form of future food will be. And we definitely will see, according to, I totally agree with Tom, that's saying that after COVID, health issue become the big issue, and everyone be more health conscious than before. We were talking about healthier food, health conscious about being over a decade, but not really until after the COVID. People starting taking good care of themselves, physically and mentally. So that what the future foods is coming in place right away. So we'll see more on that definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Thai-san. I also want to hear from Kun Santi as well on this future of food demands.
Oh, yes. I think it's the very question that we are in the today discussion about the future of food. And my question is pretty in line with what Kun Thai-san and Kun Thom just previously answered, is that we have a growing and booming demand of the food demand in the future. And to be exact is that highlight that the demand for protein, for feeding 10 billion population in 2030, we probably have estimate demand of 242 million tons of protein. Previously into the year 2000, you will see increase 42%. So alternative protein space, when you talk about health, personalized nutrition. So many things happen probably after our observation, there is 6 category of the growing demand in terms of food for the future, which I probably share in the detail at the later questions. Another driving force for food for the future is the mindset of the consumer and people in the food industry. We now understanding that health is wealth. So not only doing business economic sustainable, but in terms of food system or health sustainable. So underline the words that I would like to show on the screen. No one is getting healthy on unhealthy planets. I think this is the mindset that there is the explosion discussion about the future food in terms of not only eating, distributing, or food technology only, but to think about what you eat, think about the consequence after you eat, the direct and indirect effect of the people that relate to your food consumption and food production. So this should be the key and core pillars that probably on my next and following answer as well. Maybe discuss on the next question later. Thank you.
Yes, we'll make sure to dive deeper into the 6 categories that you touch on, and no one is absolutely getting healthy on an unhealthy planet, which means that now shifting over to understand more about the food system on a global scale to meet the needs of our growing population. Kun Santi, what are the global trends in food development then and the food industry that you are currently seeing?
Yes, I think I would like to highlight like two key trends and like concepts that we all can relate to and can work on for the future of food. The first one is feeding the mind, health, and heart, meaning that, like Kun Tom or Kun Paisan mentioned that, pandemic, war, cost consumer, food brands to really like recognize of the well-being of health, and not only health, but food that give the emotional health, and also the food in the future that would give the heart to rejoice in harmony with the environment and the presence of the community. That's the first key trend that all the food brand and the people in the food industry, research and development should have as a three core aspect for the food development. Can you please move to the slide that have the three core pillars? The second key trend is the world in the future will be united through food. We now realize that we not only live on our own existing 20% greenhouse gas emission that affect what we are worried after the COVID-19 and war is the climate crisis. Consumer for the food industry and food brand are all responsible for the sustainable practice in terms of food invention, production, distribution, and waste management. So we will see the movement of the many conglomerate, big food brands, association all around the world are in discussion about breaking the silo and trying to unite it through food and trying to make more sustainable on our food system.
Thank you, Kun Santi. I want to move back to Kun Tom. What are the global trends in food development and the food industry that you are also currently seeing?
Ja, er werd iemand vraagt op Twitch, zei hij wat over klimaatverandering. Daar openden ze mee. Het schijnt in Thailand al te merken te zijn aan de ananassen, kokosnoten, wat hadden ze nog meer, rijst, papaya, guave. Dus mede daarom ook dat ze dit hebben georganiseerd met allerlei industriekopstukken. Want ze exporteren heel veel voedsel, net als Nederland. Ze moeten het van export hebben. Dus dat klimaat, dat heeft al getoond, al dus hun dan, dat er in Thailand veel meer droogtetijden zijn, maar ook veel meer overstromingen als het een keer regent. Dus het is niet meer zoals het was. Het is nu meer zo hollen of stilstaan. Of het regent keihard heel lang, of het is heel lang droog. Daar werd mee geopend.
If you could turn on your microphone, so we can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think I think the three of us are in agreement that it's going to be more about eating for your health. Getting food into your body that will prevent you from getting sick, prevent you from getting the next wave or whatever comes after COVID. And the other part is eating food or growing food that's going to help sustain our planet while not burning it down with CO2 emission. NRF, our parent company, actually has a part. I'll give you some real future stuff because we were just in the US looking at it. NRF has been chosen as part of the Mars Society. If you're aware, Mars Society is part of Elon Musk's push towards man going to the red planet. NRF has actually been chosen to work with them on how to actually grow food on this 8-month trip to Mars and then 2 years on the planet. What I saw in the US was incredible. I mean, you might not believe this, but there's something called culture meat where they're actually just growing the cow in a petri dish. And I ate this, right? I actually ate meat that was grown in a petri dish. They made a sausage out of it. I mean, the future in regards to what technology is going to bring to the food industry is incredible. Imagine this, meat that comes from a petri dish, meaning we don't have to kill cows anymore, nor do we have to, create more methane or CO2 from having cow farms and the cows farting so much that it creates all this methane. I mean, think about that. Think about that. We're going to grow meat. The other part is plant-based. There is a tremendous push for plant-based food. Not only is it sustainable for our environment, but it's sustainable for our growth. So I'm seeing some mind-blowing stuff. What they're doing with growing meat, what they're doing with plant-based food. So, again, it all comes back to one thing. Well, two things. One is the ability to create food that won't, affect our CO2 emission or our global warming, anymore, and also to add better health to the consumer. So I think that is what I'm seeing, and it's blowing my mind. The technology is incredible. And the question I have then is, and in the future of food is great, we're talking about this, but I'm sure we'll talk about this more, is how does Thailand, how does our audience watching the show benefit from all these great things? Because when you go abroad, I'll tell you something, everybody knows Thai food. And that should be the future, is how do we promote, how do we create a healthier aspect for the world to start eating what our farmers are growing, helps our economy, and really lead. Again, I want to make sure that the audience who's with us, understand that at the end of the day, we can talk about the future of food, but how does that benefit the country? How does that benefit our farmers? How does that benefit our economies?
Thank you. Very important for audience watching at home to know how they can take part and how that benefits them. And it's amazing that you are seeing some mind-blowing stuff in the U.S., especially the projects, be part of that project going to Mars. I also want to hear from Kun Paisan. What do you see now for global trends in food development and the food industry?
Yes, actually, when Tom talking about those future food in United States, and reminding me of those NASA food, and they're starting using those NASA food, and those is amazing. And actually, I've been seeing it, but I haven't tried it yet. But I think that is something that's a solution that for the future as well. But looking for the trend now, I mean, basically it's coming for three trends now. I mean, it's food for health. That's one. Second one is food for sustainability, and that have to be coming hand in hand with in the food future. And the third one will be food for culture. These three trends will be, we definitely will bring to the next future. When we're talking about healthy food.
When we talk about healthy food, daar was die gebleven. Nou, het werkt ook een beetje als volgt. Er is niet meer hitte door zonnepanelen. Zo werkt dat niet. Wat wel gebeurt is dat alles wat wij bouwen van steen en zo, en ook zonnepanelen, maar dat is voor nu is dat een heel klein percentage, nog niet eens 1% van alles wat mensen bouwen. Dat is misschien 0,00001% of zo. Al die, bijvoorbeeld in Nederland, al die donkerbruine huizen en die zo goed als donkergrijze dakpannen en zo, dat houdt wel hitte langer vast. Dus op het moment dat de zon onder is, dan zou het normaal in het bos, nou niet normaal, dat is gewoon zo. In een bos koelt het sneller af, alleen al dankzij de dauw bijvoorbeeld, op een bepaald vochtigheid en temperatuurpercentage, dan nu met die, ja, noem het warmteaccu's, en dan niet accu in de zin van stroom, maar ze slaan hitte op voordat jouw huis is afgekoeld. In een hete zomer, dat gebeurt eigenlijk bijna niet. Dus die steden en dorpen en overal waar veel beton is en stenen, ja, wordt hitte vastgehouden. Een CO2-molecuul is 10 keer zo groot als een zuurstofmolecuul. Die is ook zwaarder. Een gassfeer in een auto bijvoorbeeld, dus waarmee je achterklep bijvoorbeeld, dat die lichter open gaat en zachtjes dicht. Die zuurstof die erin wordt gezet in de fabriek, dat is in no time is dat helemaal op, zeg maar. Er zit geen dat wordt CO2. Dat wordt gewoon vieze lucht, CO2. Dat zijn grotere moleculen. Je hebt ook luchtbuksen, die zuigen geen verse lucht aan. Maar er zit een gasfeer in, dat heet IGT, Inert Gas Technology. 10 keer zo grote moleculen. Dus als dat uitzet, gaat het gaat niet 10 keer zo hard, maar het gaat wel harder dan met een conventionele luchtbuks. Wat er dus 's nachts gebeurt, wanneer bomen zuurstof gaan afstaan, overdag dan vergaren ze CO2, zetten het om in zuurstof en als de zon onder is, beginnen ze dat af te geven. Dat stijgt, ik wil niet zeggen meteen, maar dat stijgt wel op. Omdat het in de nacht en de avond warmer is. Dus verder als de atmosfeer inderdaad een soort thermoskan is, dat de hitte niet weg kan, dan is dat opwarming van de aarde. Heel simpel gezegd, hè.
We're talking about green, go clean, but now it's no longer green, but it will be more cleaner. Cleaner, it will be contain many meaning, including like sustainability, environmentally friendly, and even though the restaurant also greenery concept, I see one in Thailand actually. They grow their own vegetable, and it's a shabu place. And basically, you can just go into the farm, pick your own vegetable, fresh, and you wash it yourself, and you eat it at your own table. This is something that is starting to be more in trend in terms of they want something more freshness. They want something that they ensure that it's good for them. Is what the body need and what is they see with their own eye, they touch with their own hand, and they taste it with their own tongue. I mean that's something that they believe in. They no longer believe in what the product saying, but they believe in what they're consuming and they're seeing it and tasting it. So that one thing that we're seeing that freshness of. Not even coming from the vegetable food, they're also coming from like snack as well. We see a lot of fresh snack coming out, like shield protein, like those protein bar, or maybe even like smoothie type. We see that. We also see those prebiotic from the garlic, from onions, from fresh food. We also see those fiber from the vegetable as well. And beside that, even flour, flour is now what they call super flour. The flour is coming, they make from cauliflower, they're making from tiger nut flour, they're making from coconut flour. And those are something very new, and definitely this is a new generation, which is they call themselves like the vegan consumer, that's what they call themselves. And they consume anything with no associate with animal at all purely plant. And we will see a lot of plant-based product coming out right now. Even though the taste is still not there yet, but I think they're working on it in terms of taste. I think Thai people have more advantage. One thing is that, or even Asian culture, because we have what's called a vegetarian festival. So we've been consuming vegetarian for the longest time, and we also have been consuming a lot of plant-based for a long time. But we can develop and see this opportunity for Asian and Thai people to develop this something to compete in the world market. And not just the food itself, also we can see that even design, and we'll see like they bring the naturals coming into the store as well. We see like Starbucks, they have bring a lot of glass house, greenery thing, those kind of things. So this is something that will be happen and definitely in the food industry.
Thank you.
So I think I'll stop it from now and then before I go further.
No,
Okay.
thank you. It's really interesting from the freshness, the farm to table and plant-based diet that, consumers are more health conscious. So, of course, matching with food development with future demand requires monitoring a key factor you have touched on, consumer behavior. So, I want to start with Kun Paisan here. How do the changes in consumer behaviors affect food production then?
Well, so it's already did actually. It's come faster than what we thought, because by COVID it has been accelerated. The behaviors, like we can see that now, like platform or channels of the food delivery also coming in place rather than dining in. So by having changing delivery, also the food that to deliver at their home also had been transformed as well. Something that is not, it can keep much longer, but still freshness and still have good quality. And those is something with technology coming in place that we're helping develop that food. How can we preserve the food, the freshness, and bringing that to that they can enjoy at home. So behavior that been changing. One is the what's called the platform of the channel had been changed. That one thing we see that. The second thing that we see that the application, we see a lot of application that will be happening to the consumer right now. Everything is power on hand. They basically what they need, what they want. They can searching and they can ordering, or they can do everything by just one finger, and they can pick and choose, and they can decide their own by application. So that consumer will be related to the application. So in terms of the future, we will more engaging in terms of, we call it super app, that will see one app that will be answer all the solution. And we're also seeing the other thing is like digital, like robot assistant. We're seeing that that have been changing definitely in the food industry. That we're seeing that like even what's called a robot farming. I mean, like I see like Kubota farming, for example, in Thailand. They've done a phenomenal. So they have a solution for all the farmer and machine solution, this kind of thing, and it's more sustainable. And this generation C, as I mentioned, they're the one who will bring a new trend of the more conscious. When back then when we were talking about we doing blending, we answer for functional, and then the second phase now we answer for emotional. The consumer asking for functional, not just functional anymore. They're looking for emotional. But now they're not just only functional, emotional, but they're also looking for what brand have done for me, what brand would do for me, what this food would do for me. So I think they're beyond just functional and emotional. So I think that we'll see that in coming and have been changing, and then certainly that the food industry have to catch up all this in order to to compete in the market.
Thank you.
That's it.
Functional, emotional, and what can food producer really give to consumer? So staying on that, what consumer behavior, Kun Tom, what do you think about that and how that changes affect food production? Kun Tom, how do you think the changes in consumer behavior now affect food production?
Well, again, I think you gotta thank COVID, right?
Thanks.
Always a negative and a positive. Gotta thank COVID for helping to change consumer behavior on behalf of the entire food industry. Again, it all goes back. People want to be healthier, right? If you're on this TV show, if you start eating healthier, you don't have to wear that mask anymore. Never really understood why people wore masks when they're on TV or consuming. But again, that's a consumer behavior because you're concerned about getting COVID and you're wearing a mask, right? Well, believe me, wearing that mask is not going to be as helpful as eating healthier, right? Eating the right food, eating the right stuff. So I believe that as COVID changed your behavior, and now everybody seems to want to wear a mask even when they don't need to, well, everybody will probably start wanting to eat healthier because they need to. So it's very simple, right? Consumer behavior is, and we've talked about this over and over again, it's going to be about healthy food for your body. The old days of eating, big chunks of pork with a lot of blubber on it, I think those days are dying. But one of the things we need to be concerned with when we talk about future of food is there's going to be two kinds of people in the world, two kinds of society. There's going to be those of us, or those who can afford the right kind of food, the plant-based, the good food and all that. And then there's going to be the general population. As the world goes to 10 billion, imagine that. The world's going to go to 10 billion. The consumer behavior of those who can afford food is going to trend towards being healthy. The rest are just going to be, can we find food to eat? So I think that's something that we need to really focus on. And Thailand, again, can play a big part in that. We can take the high end of the food chain, which is create healthy food, and we can also go on the low end of the chain, which is just provide food for those who just needs to eat. And that comes from our agricultural aspect of it. So again, it's consumer behavior is going to be two. One is those who can afford to do health, and those who just want to eat. And then again, it's those who, I mean, the biggest trend is going to be, again, I believe, is getting food for being healthy.
Thank you. Being healthy with, COVID, people being more health conscious, and absolutely that changes because everybody want to protect themselves. I also want to hear from Kun Santi as well in the changes in consumer behaviors. How do you think that affect food production?
Yes, I think my answer is pretty in line with what Kun Paisan and Kun Tom mentioned again. Just to highlight that, aside from those like need, functional, emotional, like brand to answer consumer need deeper, people in the food industry and research institution advise to be look forward in terms of like personalized taste, health profile, and product format that fits in terms of like changing in aging society, also like changing in terms of lifestyle, like people work from home, work from anywhere. So we have now food on demand, but growing abroad around the world is D2C food. So how to create like format, packaging, and innovation to serve like D2C, cross-sector, digital, metaverse, and food production. And also the booming in terms of sense of belonging, like Kun Tom mentioned, like food that really represent certain community. So that's a word like hyper-local. So that is kind of what changing in consumer behavior that affect how you sourcing food, food innovation, food production. And another interesting perspective, I'd like to move to the next slide, please. This is this called food loss pyramid. Is similar to the concept of the Maslow hierarchy of need that we studied before. But this food loss pyramid is like global concept about food development in the future. So the consumer perception in the future would trying to and need to reconnect at the top of the pyramid. So food not only the source for energy, health, not only represent what you are, what you believe or the community that you are belonging, but the food in the future at the top is showing that people need to be reconnect with the roots of the food production. So to translate in terms of business or business application, technology application, one thing that we start to see is the food will need to be more transparent. You need to see the sourcing and really how it tells about the food safety and food that serve the community and serve the food system. more responsible and more sustainable way ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you. Going to the source. So when we see consumer demand shifts, it makes sense, right, that the industry must adjust and adapt accordingly. And Kun Tom did touch on that there are two different types of consumers. So I want to go into organic food now. The demand for organic food is growing across all demographics. Food company has been working hard to produce food that is free from pesticides, chemical, preservatives. Is there an opportunity, Kun Tom, for the Thai food industry to thrive in this organic food market? And how do we do that?
There we go. I go back. Thailand is, what do we say? We have fishes in our water, right? We have great land to grow on. We could be the breadbasket to the world, whether it's organic or non-organic food. But the problem with Thailand is in the way we structure our food industry. We are never prepared for anything. We are a country that should be leading the world's food industry, but through our horrible political system and our horrible bureaucratic system, we tend to follow, right? We are ready to lead the world in organic. We are ready to lead the world in plant-based. We are the only country, imagine this, we are the only country in Asia that has legalized hemp, right? Hemp can be made into milk. Hemp seed is a tremendous protein. Yet the people at the Ministry of Health, the people who's actually supposed to help us grow this industry, are sitting there picking their nose and trying to figure out how to stop us from growing. So, whether it's organic, all of these are great terms. And it's not being stopped by the fact that the Thai farmers or the Thai business people like myself don't want to see it grow, but we're always hampered by the fact that there are policies in place that just don't allow us to do this. Like, for example, organic wise, we have to be able to bring down the costs. We have to bring down the cost, right, to grow organically. But there are regulations, rules, import, export issues that doesn't really reflect the realities of Thailand moving into the organic base. We're still giving money away, right, as like a big piggy bank to farmers to basically not to grow organic, but just to grow so that, you will give us your votes when it's time for political elections, rather than understanding that if you start turning your farms into organic farms, your monetary value to the food chain will be much higher. So, again, I'm trying to answer the question in a very simple way. Yes, the future trend of food will be into all of these things. However, the people who are still stuck in the 18th century of farming in Thailand don't see, the ability of this, but rather just keep status quo of having our food industry here in Thailand follow rather than lead. But we have a tremendous opportunity. We are the only country now that allows hemp to be turned into food in Southeast Asia. Hemp can be actually turned into food that's very good for the lower end of the market, the lower end of the spectrum. It has tremendous protein value. It has tremendous vitamin value. This milk, is better than almond milk, or it's better than a lot of the other milk that are very expensive. We don't promote it. So again, it's to answer your question, organic, all of this stuff, Thailand's ready to go. We just need the right policies and certainly the right mindset in those who set policies to allow this to happen.
Appreciate you identifying the areas that need to be worked on, and for talking about hemp, I promise that we will come back to that and we'll dive deeper into what hemp can offer. I also want to hear from Kun Santi, the Thai food industry. How can we thrive in the organic food market?
Yes, I kind of, thank you for these, questions, and thank you for me to answer following Kun Tom, make me a lot easier to explain. On my personal observation after like 3 years that we manage like future food ideation and connect with all the stakeholders in the industry. My personal observation and conclusion on this is, yes, there's a demand for organic, and underlying is the demand for the food safety and transparent food is booming, it's growing, yes. Which is like Kun Thom mentioned, it is the very mindset. It's just the mindset that is the term that not only limit to the words like organic, food standard, but if you want to see the future of food, look beyond it. If the terms organic give you the more sustainable way of growing food, the more harmonized way of the people to connect through the food system. If not, you can look beyond that. And I would like to also introduce, and probably one of you who are listening probably know, there are growing in terms of discussion around the world in terms of new way of producing food and talk about like new food standard. Upcoming disruption and discussion is like new safe and harmony food production system like biodynamic, permaculture, regenerative agriculture, which is more safe, resilient, and sustainable, and in line with our sufficiency economy philosophy. This is like Kun Thom mentioned, the very opportunity for Thai agricultural sector, food industry that we have, like biodiversity, we have vast value chain. So we can strengthen this, take the lead of this positioning as a country that we have reached in terms of value chain and translate this, capture this trend and trying to work together to lead this, what we decide together, that we will work together in harmony, whether it's regenerative permaculture. And, according to our study, we have proposed to many organizations about the 6 pillars of the future food system framework to be some of the key guidelines that we can work together, that inclusive people from across sector to working together. I would like to share the next slide that the people can see more clearly what are the 6 pillars of the future food. There's another slide that I like to share. Yes, this is the framework that we would like to highlight, and we all can work together to develop new ideas of collaboration and synergy. And again, please don't stick and stuck into the term of organic, but we really need to see the way that we see the future of people in the agriculture sector, food industry, and consumer. Thank you, Kap.
Thank you. Collaboration and inclusions are certainly key to help Thailand food industry move forward. I also want to hear from Kun Paisan as well. And like Kun Santi mentioned, you don't need to just be put in a box about just organic food market, but what do you think in terms of opportunity for Thai food industry to drive forward? How do we do that, Kun Paisan?
As the demanding of the food organic, I think what we heard from Kun Thom and Kun Santi that organic definitely would be it's a nice word. I mean, it's if you're asking the consumer to pick, either they want to eat something organic or non-organic, definitely they will go for organic. But what happened is organic is, how do we know it actually is organic? Nobody knows it really is organic, because it depends on the article of the marketer, or also the article of the the owner of the product that they market into to the market. If they're using the organic, they should be. I'm glad to hear from Kusanti that they have the framework on working on how do we developing organic food and how we go beyond on that. That's a big question that sometimes we don't even know is organic. And the second is the pricing and the cost. Like Kun Tom said, it's costly, it's expensive. And if we have a choice, we definitely will want to consume something that is good for us, is something is clean, is something that is non-pesticide. And so definitely we want that. But I happen to join that one of the up north is the project that led by 1 month at Hanwal, trying to educate all the farmers that using the non-pesticide fertilize those kind of things. And the next question is that after the growing, they have organic product, but the problem is they can't sell it. Nobody can buy it, and nobody knows what organic does for them. So they're struggling with that. They spend a lot of time, they spend a lot of money. They're learning a lot on how to grow organic, but they can't sell it. So that becomes an issue for the Thai farmer as well. So that we are part of us that we have to help them to how to marketing, how to help them to in terms of product imaging, labeling, designing, to help them in order to selling it. Those is a lot of things, but there are much room for Thai consumer. The Thai industry that the farmer that can develop that organic. And I'm totally glad that I hear from Kusanti that we do have a framework, and then we are working on those. And such a big collaboration on different part of industry, and then definitely, and in Thailand will be, definitely we can grow a lot of organic food. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And technology and innovation also plays a crucial role in the advancement of food production, especially the meatless food industry, featuring lab-grown meat, seafood substitute, insect protein. How is this changing the future of food? And going forward, will we be more likely to eat meat and other food that are produced in the lab? I want to ask Kun Tom this because he tried the food that was produced in the Petri dish in the U.S. I'll start with Kun Tom for this one.
Yeah, so before I answer that question, if you don't mind, I'd like to help answer the previous questions on how Thailand can, move, take advantage of the food industry, organic, whatever.
Yeah.
I emphasize one thing. Thailand is always ready to lead the world in the food industry. We are ready to feed the world. We have to give a lot of credit to our farmers. We are an agricultural country. My only answer to that is to all people, right? Is we just need better policies, and we really need people in the Ministry of Agriculture who knows what the heck they're talking about. We got to put ministers in there that actually cares about or actually understands what the word organic means. We can't have ministers running our country who has no awareness of where the future of food's going to be, but rather utilizes our farmer as weapons of getting votes rather than economic growth. So that would be my point there. In regards to the future of food itself, in regards to the technology, it's changing. Again, I was mind blown by the fact that I ate a sausage that came from a petri dish.
Yeah.
It tasted okay. It was a little gamey, but it tasted okay. We mentioned food like, NASA's food, right? When astronauts go to the space station, they eat these things. And again, those are things that I see is coming. So technology is playing a tremendous part in the changing of our food industry, and Thailand has to catch up with that. We need to learn how to, one thing, grow better using technology. One of the problems with Thailand is when we grow, our yield is very low.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to bring in technology to help increase the yield of our food production. Again, then it comes back to things like water management, ground management. In America, I've seen now farmers in America growing their food, they use drones. You know, everywhere you go in a great...
Ja, drones die zie je in Nederland ook. Steeds meer op het platteland. Ik snap het niet helemaal, Nel. Welke optel je niet ziet zitten of oneens bent. Vroeger. Wat vroeger? 10 jaar terug, 100 jaar terug. Je had grote gezinnen, maar niet elk gezin was groot. Het kwam vaker voor. Maar er is een verschil of je van 1 miljoen naar 2 miljoen mensen gaat. In bijvoorbeeld 30 jaar. Of van 2 miljoen mensen naar 11 miljoen mensen in 30 jaar. 30 jaar geleden. Ja, nou ja, maar nou snap ik nog steeds niet. Welke optelsom? Het is ook zo dat eigenlijk moet je het per, nou ja, dat moet je zelf weten, maar per jaar kijken of 5 jaar of 10 jaar. Stel even, hè, dat is een heel zwart-wit voorbeeld. Mensen die worden 1 keer per jaar zwanger, wereldwijd hè. Dus mensen worden altijd in juni geboren. Ik roep maar wat. Er worden een miljard mensen geboren dit jaar. Dus er komen 1 miljard mensen mee in juni. Dan, van die miljard, zijn er een aantal die worden 3 dagen jong, 3 weken, 3 maanden, 3 jaar, 13 jaar, 30 jaar, 83, 103, een enkeling. Dus wanneer zijn die miljard zeg maar op, tussen haakjes? Dat is verspreid over een periode van 50 jaar. En dat verschilt per land. En per omstandigheden en inderdaad weer voeding enzovoort. Dus ja, er zijn zoveel dingen gezegd. Ik weet niet welke optelsom je niet ziet zitten of zo. Maar het is niet exact kwadratisch. Hè? Kwadratisch is 2 keer 2 is 4. Keer 4 is 16. Keer 4 is 64 enzovoort. 100 ouders die 50 kinderen krijgen, zijn 150 mensen. En 30 paren die 10 kinderen krijgen, dat zijn er 330. Dus als het eenmaal veel is, wordt het alleen maar meer. Ook als je minder kinderen krijgt. Er is een punt waarop je alleen maar groeit. In Nederland is het geloof ik momenteel zo. Weet ik niet zeker. Maar ik meen dat de gemiddelde Nederlandse gezin 1,8 kinderen krijgt. Maar dat weet ik even niet meer waar ik het las. Het kan namelijk ook 2,8 zijn. Dat weet ik gewoon even niet. Maar stel 1,8. Dan is dat minder dan 2 ouders. 0,2 minder. Dus dan heb je al 5 ouders nodig voor dat gemiddelde om 1 kind minder te hebben. Omdat je ineens in breuken gaat spreken. Dus 1 op de 5 gezinnen heeft, zeg ik nou goed, 2 kinderen? Even denken. 1,8 keer 5, dat is 9. Nee, die hebben 9 kinderen. Dus eentje minder. Dus alleen per 5 ouders heb je 9 kinderen. Maar ja, die 9 kinderen, eentje die wordt 9 maanden, eentje wordt 19 jaar, een ander wordt 90 jaar. Dat duurt gewoon heel lang voordat dat zich voordat die weg zijn, zeg maar. Even om het lullig te zeggen. Maar in de tussentijd zijn er weer heel andere mensen die kinderen krijgen. En in het Westen, of tenminste in Nederland in elk geval, heb je dan ook nog een keer de arbeidsmigratie en oorlog opvangen, noem maar op. Het is op zich met de computer niet zo heel moeilijk te berekenen. En die prognoses zijn er ook wel. Van als je zoveel binnenkrijgt, dit is het gemiddelde geboortegetal. Dan zit je over 10 jaar op zoveel mensen, op 100 jaar op zoveel mensen. En het zijn natuurlijk gemiddeldes, want nogmaals weer, klimaat, voeding, leefpatroon telt allemaal mee, alcoholisten enzovoort. Maar ja, dat zijn marges, dus dat maakt ook niet zoveel uit op 10 miljard. Echter op dit moment groeit de wereldbevolking, ondanks alles. En in Nederland krijgen ze, stel het is 1,8, gaan we nu gewoon even vanuit, stellen we gewoon even. krijgen 2 ouders 1,8 kinderen, dus over pakken bij het 70 jaar is de gelijkstand met de huidige ouderstand, want je hebt het dan alleen over ouders. En dan telt ook mee dat in die 70 jaar die 1,8 kinderen niet meer dan 1,8 kinderen krijgen. Anders groeit het weer.
Farms of America growing wheat or corn. Drones are out there measuring the yield of the products. And so I think technology will play a great part in moving the industry forward. But to do that, I emphasize again, I think the biggest hurdle to Thailand leading the future of food is the hurdle we've been having for the last 50 years, is incompetent people in government who doesn't understand how to move the industry forward.
Thank you. So we'll definitely touch on what you want to tell the government. Another growing area of food tech that has received great popularity from the mainstream population globally and here in Thailand is cannabis and hemp-infused food, which you show us the milk earlier. Cannabis and hemp have been removed from the country's list of narcotics. This makes trying cannabis-infused products from food to dessert, even beverages, appealing to more Thais. I wanted to ask you that because you have been at the forefront of cannabis development and started a food business center around this green plant. What is the role of cannabis in the future of food, especially in Thailand?
Am I the only one getting static, or is everybody?
I can hear. Yeah, I did too.
Since you've been at the forefront of this hemp-infused cannabis business, I want to hear your thoughts on the role of cannabis in the future of food, especially growing cannabis in Thailand.
We have our strategy, our parent company, NRF. We have 2 strategies for and it's not only cannabis, by the way. Thailand has not only legalized cannabis, but another plant called kratom. And right now, kratom is a $2 billion industry in the US that Thailand has taken zero advantage of. Zero. And again, I blame the Ministry of Health for this. Indonesia is eating our share in this market because people in the US, cannabis or kratom can be utilized in 2 ways. One is as food that you can eat, and the other is what we call food for the prevention of diseases. In America, they're taking kratom dietary supplements to help out with anxiety, to help out with opioid crisis. People are taking cannabis supplements to help with cancer, to help with Alzheimer's, to help with sleep disorder. And it just pains me that we are the only Asian country that has legalized all of this stuff, yet we're still stuck with people at the Thai FDA who can't see that it's better for our farmers to grow kratom or to grow cannabis because there's a higher value chain to these plants. And we are the only legal country in Asia who can do it. So again, these foods are going to be tremendous, whether it's for eating, but I think it's even better for prevention and the cure. Remember, when you eat meat, it's great, but meat won't help you cure cancer. When you drink a hemp-based milk, or you take a hemp dietary supplement, right? This will help you go to sleep. This is food, and I think you mentioned this. One of our panelists mentioned this. Functional food. This is the Thai export.
Ja, dat is relatief, meneer. Als je slaapmiddelen nodig hebt om in slaap te vallen, even afgezien van de medische rariteit, dan is er dus wat aan de hand in het land. Anders zouden mensen wel in slaap vallen als ze niet echt andere zorgen hebben dan die redelijk zijn tussen haakjes voor het alledaagse leven van alle dag. Hij is wel een beetje een reclamemannetje. Een beetje Amerikaanse insteek in qua zijn aandeel in het geheel. Hij heeft die melk en dit heeft hij al zo vaak omhoog gehouden. Dat is wel jammer. En nogmaals, als je in slaap moet vallen met een hulpmiddel, dan is dat hoe dan ook niet gewenst, zeg maar.
In the world that says if you take this dietary supplement or this food supplement, it will help you go to sleep or cure cancer. What's that going to do for the future of our farmers? It's a lot better than growing rice, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. A lot better than growing rice, and you did identify that, it's a $2 billion.
Yeah, I think we got to stop growing rice. That's my recommendation. The future of food, stop growing rice.
The $2 billion industry for Gratom. You did mention about the Thai business potential to expand overseas. I want to ask you about the capabilities. We have the potential to go, but do we have the capabilities in the growing cannabis cuisine scenes?
Of course we do. Of course we do. Remember, Thailand had, I'll tell you what, Thailand had its own cannabis strain called Thai stick. People around the world gives this strain tremendous value. The only people who don't see the value in Thai stick are the people who are currently sitting in our government. So Thailand has a tremendous ability to grow hemp or to grow cannabis or to grow marijuana, especially kratom. There's only four countries in the world that can grow kratom that can be sold on the market. Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. Thailand is the only country who has legalized it, yet we have taken no advantage of it. So again, we have right? And by the way, I'll give one credit to Thai people up north and Thai people down south. Thai people up north, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Nan, they know how to grow cannabis because they've been growing it for 50 years and been smoking it all the time. People down south knows how to grow kratom. I'll give you one perfect example of we're not taking advantage of what the market or the world wants as a business. I was never aware of this until 6 months ago when I went to the US and somebody at a US place that we're bringing here to Thailand said, "Did you know that Thai coffee was very good, Tom?" I'm like, "I have no idea, and I'm Thai." And they're like, "Yes, your strain of coffee from Nan is excellent. It can sell for a tremendous amount of value. However, it's just so difficult to get the production, to get the facility, to get the government regulations right for us to ship coffee out of Thailand." There's another future food. I wasn't aware that the future of coffee grown in Thailand is an excellent future. But again, it's something that we need to work on.
Thank you. Definitely, that's something that we need to work on. And Thailand has been making progress in amending laws governing narcotic substances as they apply to cannabis and hemp. So the move.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the past 2 or 3 years, Thailand has not made progress in the food industry. We have actually taken a back seat. We don't see the opportunity. We can be so much better. But right now, all we're doing is handing money out to our farmers to grow the same thing over and over and over again. We're not thinking about what the world, and I thank my two panelists for saying the same thing. We need to understand what the world needs and grow that. Right? Not to grow just something that will get the politicians their votes. We got to stop. We got to grow what the consumer wants, and the world wants healthier plants. They want cannabis, they want kratom, they want coffee, they want corn, and yet we're still stuck every year giving away billions to subsidize farmers to grow rice. So I don't think we made progress. We actually went backwards in our food industry. And the backwards of that is not only into our farmers, But right now, only a few companies, 3 or 4 companies, control basically the entire food chain industry of Thailand. That's not progress. When 3 or 4 companies, Chao Sua, owns basically 80% of the food production, that's not progress. That is moving backwards.
Noted. So if you think that we don't make significant progress in that area, so I'll give you the chance to, what would you like to tell the Thai government about the Thai food scene, about cannabis, so that its decision in this area can help bring the most benefits to the people, businesses, and the country? Please tell me.
I tell them every day. They just choose not to listen. It's very simple. I go back to my 2 partners in this conversation, okay, which is understand what the customer or the consumer is going to need. Set up policies that are of value to pushing our food industry to those needs. One of the things that I've been pushing, and I sat with the Ministry of Tourism before I left for Thailand, if you're just looking at the economic impact of Thailand, do you know that there are 27,681 Thai restaurants just in the US alone? If this government would actually just wake up and see the value that the Thai food industry has 27,681 storefronts, that we could be promoting Thai organic food, that we could be promoting Thai health food, that we could be promoting all these things, that in itself is going to increase the GDP to our country and the future of the business, the economic to our farmers. But yet I speak to these Thai restaurants around the world. They're like, Thai government, they never come and talk to us. They just come and get free food. It is a policy that the government has to understand. We are ready. You need to stop giving away money and grow the industry rather than utilizing it for votes. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you, Kun Tom. I also would like to give the other 2 speakers the chance of what do you think the government can do to improve the Thai food industry? I'll start with Kun Paisan first.
As for me, I think I totally agree with Kun Tom that Thailand have a lot of good opportunity. We have a lot of good stuff, but we do nothing about it, you know. And in fact, then we instead of we have opportunity, we have able to marketing it, but we have been controlled, we have been regulated. We've been by law, so that will not helping farmer and the food industry to compete in the as a fast pace in the market, especially in the food industry. If I can say that, it basically is unlocked. If they can unlock all those regulations and the law that have more freely in terms of competing and and helping to developing. Put more money in research and developing it. I think that we can definitely be one of the we want to be like chicken of the world. I think that we can achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Paisan. And what about you, Kun Santi?
Well, for the government policies, for me, like three main points. The first one is I always talk this in the public, that we need a very clear roadmap, white paper base of food system of the future that we want to develop in the future, and clear authority or a strategic unit that would drive that strategy. It would be a mid and long-term strategic unit. So this strategic unit should be able to align and work with like food education, research and development, novel food regulation, talk about soft power, creative media, communication, tourism, like Kun Tom mentioned, medical, nutrition, synergy them with small and medium size agriculture and small size business so that you have the food system of the future. Secondly, enabler. We need Thai government to help us with the enabler in terms of like, in contrast to like campaigning ESG or CSR initiative or like current that they have like GMU in place. We need a system that I think on the very first question we talk about this to like grant funding and create pool of funding that not only rely on the public or private currently that doing like internal corporate venture capital, for example, so that small, medium size and people who want to really work on the food system in the future can have the accessible of the food system structure funding to develop the food technology, food production facility. This is some example of the enabler that probably we need, and many of the initiatives that need to be fused to be enabled that I showed on the slide under the 6th pillar of the future food system framework. Third is synergy. This is not my come up like idea or mindset. People around the world, researchers, UN, FAO are talking about synergy. Not only we do need to break down the silo with other part of the world, but in our country, in our all of the government, institution, departments, across sector, we really need to develop a targeted strategic units again to form a strategic alliance so that we able to really jive and synergize the best and brightest, not only in the research and development that doing very hard work on food and agriculture sector, but also from like people in the creative economy agency, like Kun Thom mentioned, tourism authority. This is my dream too, that we have like all the restaurants around the world, Thai restaurants around the world, standing up in the next level to be the representative, to be the outlet, the forefront of the future food, because we all know that modern trade and other distribution channel around the world, it look like accessible, but it's being controlled. So if we do that strategy, like Kun Thom mentioned, I'm sure that's the new frontier for introducing Thai future food to the world. Another interesting fact is that in the future, there will be a cross sector. We need like digital solution like AI, automation, metaverse, blockchain to help work with people that trying to create new things, new initiative in the food system. Also, people in the medical department as well. So yeah, that's just some of my example and 3 points that I would like to highlight. Yeah, thank you.
Noted on all the 3 points, and appreciate all of our distinguished guests today. This afternoon, our audiences have gained great insight and so many inspiring ideas about the future of food, the developments of the sectors on a global scale in expanding to meet growing consumer demands, and solutions and messages to the government on how to improve Thai's food sector. This insightful discussion among our distinguished guest speaker this afternoon truly highlights the importance of proper resource management, which we must always pay close attention to. And above all, today's discussion served as a reminder that all of us can do our part in helping the world maintain sufficient food supply for our sustainable future. Thank you once again for all of the speaker this afternoon, Kun Paisan Aosathaporn, Managing Director of Bistro Asia, Kun Thom Kursopon, founder of Golden Triangle Health Company Limited, and Kun Santi Apagat, CEO and co-founder of Tastebud Lab and BioBuddy. Thank you very much. And we would also like to thank those who supported the event today, which are Bangkok Post Public Company Limited, the Pizza Company under the operation of the Minor Food Group Public Company, APPR Media, and Thai United Group Public Media Limited. And thank you, our viewers, for joining this seminar today. For more information, or if you would like to receive future updates about the Bangkok Post events, please add our official Line account by scanning the QR code that is currently appearing on your screen. Our team and myself, Janine Pakditam, look forward to have you joining us again for upcoming events. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.
Of ik me nog haast ook zeg. Ik had niet gekeken hoe lang ik nog had. Even zien. Biefstuk met paddo's. Hey, waar komt die muziek? Oh ja. Uit Thailand komt de muziek, Thaise muziek. Biefstuk met paddo's en ui, gebakken aardappels en sla. Kijk, klinkt goed. Nou, Nurs wit hoent, die gooit iets wat uit Google Translate komt, denk ik. Thais food wel lekker. Ja, ik vind het echt lekker. Vooral die gerechten met, dat maak ik zelf eigenlijk nooit. Bijna nooit. Citroenjas of kokos. Oké, dan even naar Thailand. Facebook kijken. 2 kijkers op, wat is dit? Infodelen. Welkom op infodelen en video nieuws op Facebook. Dit is niet getypt. Dat kan, hè? Hoeft niet verplicht. Ga ik even naar TIVOP. TIVOP, eentje nog. Ook niet getypt. Wat hebben we dan nog meer? Mijn eigen account. Op Facebook. Twitch loopt weer als van ouds. 7 kijkers. Welkom, goedemiddag. Krijgen we nu zeker een foodpandemie, zegt Leida. Nou ja, er zijn verwachtingen, maar dan moeten we nog even afwachten. Dat ze dat gaan roepen. Dus dan is het eigenlijk niet zo. Maar net als met dat gas uit Rusland zeggen ze, oh wat is het allemaal duur. En ja, die boeren moeten echt weg, dus dan heb je minder boeren. Dan kan je weer zeggen, er is minder productie. Ze kunnen het wel faken. Dat is een kwestie van ook bijvoorbeeld in de transport. Als schepen kleiner en zuiniger moeten, waardoor er minder tonnen uit Thailand naar hier kunnen bijvoorbeeld. Hetzelfde met vliegtuigen uiteraard. Als ze willen kunnen ze wel de voeding, eigenlijk net als met geld. Rothschild, daar is een quote van. Hij zegt tegen landleiders, heeft hij dat al eens gezegd in het verleden, een van die eerste Rothschilds, dus die is al overleden. Geef mij de macht over je geldstromen en ik leid het land zoals jij het wil hebben. Nou, met voeding kan dat in principe net zo goed. Er is geen geldstroom en dan bepaal je welke voeding waar naartoe gaat en in hoeveel. In welke hoeveelheid. Ja, oké. Dan even, oh daar ben ik helemaal niet geweest. YouTube. Ben ik wel live op YouTube? Nou, ik weet het zo. Hier niet. Dan TIVOP. Even checken. Ja, live staat er. 0. YouTube is echt helemaal in het... nou, ik wil niet zeggen dat YouTube inkakt, maar... Voor TIVOP is het geen best platform tot nu toe qua hoeveelheden kijkers. Terwijl het is een goede tekst, een goed plaatje. Het wordt kennelijk niet gepromoot door YouTube. Dat die bovenin staat als er iemand binnenkomt. Kijk, dan ga ik terug naar mijn favoriet, Twitch. Ja, stilte voor de, nou ja, stilte voor de storm weet ik niet, maar het valt op, mensen zijn minder, reageren minder. Op alle platformen. En natuurlijk als je in een chat zit met 700 kijkers, dan gaat die chat nog wel, die loopt nog wel. Maar niet zoals voorheen dat je 3 woorden de zin in was en hup, er stonden alweer 3 zinnen doorheen. Qua langs gescrolld, weet je wel. Zo snel gaat het niet meer. Er wordt echt minder gereageerd. Het kan ook zijn dat men de onderwerpen gewoon zat is. Hè? Ja, afgebrand, maar het kan ook verveling zijn. Alhoewel, nee, dan keken ze niet. Dan gingen ze wel wat anders kijken. Ja, daar ben ik het dus wel mee eens. Of tenminste mee eens, dat is niet het goede woord. Ik denk wel dat er te veel mensen op aarde zijn om het allemaal lekker te laten lopen. Er moet nu meer gepland worden. Daardoor ben je kwetsbaarder voor een slecht seizoen van het een of het ander. Al is het nog zo goed geregeld, het is nogal een verschil of je voor 5 miljard mensen transport moet regelen of voor 10 miljard. Dus letterlijk 100% meer. Dus ook qua energie. Nou, ja, dat valt dan wel mee. Nelly die zegt, hoop mensen weten soms niet hoe ze wel of niet kunnen mogen schrijven en zeggen. Dat is zo, die heb je ertussen, maar dat is helaas een minderheid hoor. De meesten die flappen er gewoon alles uit. Die typen, die typen of flappen er alles uit wat ze willen. Leg dat eens nader uit, Nurse die zegt op Twitch, het lijkt erop dat deze dagen de zwakkeren overleven. Wat een vervelende toestand om te ontdekken dat je daarin leeft. Ja, die ban die is dus te omzeilen door op bijvoorbeeld likkenbouw te posten. Want voorlopig wordt die nog niet geblokt. Facebook die heeft nu ook BitChute geblokt. Of die andere. Nou, of allebei, ik weet het even niet. Maar Facebook is bezig externe platformen te blokkeren. Dus dan kun je de link niet gebruiken. Want dan wordt je post niet geplaatst. Ik dacht bij BitChute. Volgens mij is BitChute waar ik dat bij heb gehad. Dus je kan niet meer naar BitChute posten vanaf Facebook. Althans linken er naartoe. En dat ga je natuurlijk ook steeds meer zien onder het mom van misinformatie. Ja, dan wordt het heel moeilijk om dingen te gaan vinden. Nog even en zoekmachines, die moeten bepaalde websites gaan boycotten. Oftewel uit de index halen. Dan wordt het echt moeilijk om ze te vinden. Dan moet er weer ouderwets langs de deur worden ingegooid. Dit is het IP-nummer. Dat mensen direct komen zoeken, bekijken of niet. Eerst iets chatten op Facebook, daarna heb ik weer een hold. Ik kan niks meer versturen. Oké, raar. Wat ik wel heb is dat ik op sommige plekken niet kan reageren. Terwijl, dat is dan een vriend, hè, dus het is geen kwestie van dat je geen verbinding hebt met die persoon. Maar dan kan je gewoon niet meechatten. Ik krijg die klachten ook wel eens van mensen heel af en toe. Van ja, waarom mag ik bij jou niet chatten? Ik zeg nou, mag best. Maar als het niet kan, dan kan het niet. Dat is Facebook. Misschien hebben ze zelf wel een of andere ban. Zou ook nog kunnen. Ja, dat is het rare Nel. Die kende ik nog niet. Dat je eerst wel kan reageren en dan op enig moment niet meer. Dat heb ik nog niet gehad. Het is of ik kan reageren of ik kan niet reageren. Maar eerst wel en dan niet meer heb ik nog niet gehad. Alleen dat is met heel veel servers. Hè. Facebook is een soort sub-internet op internet. Dat zijn zoveel computers wereldwijd. Dat voordat iets is uitgerold, dat alle servers waar mensen op actief zijn op Facebook, dat die geüpdate zijn, nieuwe functies enzovoort. Dat duurt gewoon een paar maanden. Zo groot is het. Het is echt wel knap hoor, hoe ze dat in de lucht houden. Het is een enorm team van hardware- en software specialisten. En allerlei serverparken. kijken, er is ook een update. Oh ja, er was een update die ik wilde laten zien. Welke was dat? Boeren in actie. Vandaag. Dit is al geweest, niet live, maar we gaan toch even kijken. Zachte audio, maar ik ga het allemaal regelen. Geduld.
Eigenlijk niet genoeg over de stand. Het is vaak helemaal niet makkelijk. Dus alsjeblieft steun ons richting Tweede Kamer, want dit beleid is onhaalbaar. En wij hebben daarvoor 3 argumenten. Het belangrijkste is het Erius-model, dat is ook door Rudy Robingen gezegd. De droge depositie wordt overschat. Het model is echt niet goed. Je kan hiermee niet vergunningverlening onderbouwen. Ten tweede heeft Hoordijk, de commissie Hoordijk, nou dat is echt een heel gerenommeerd onderzoeksrapport wat is geschreven voor de overheid, voor de Tweede Kamer. Die heeft gezegd, je mag dit model niet gebruiken voor vergunningverlening, want de schaal waarop je het dan gebruikt, dus op bedrijfsniveau, is echt te klein en dan worden gewoon de onzekerheden te groot. Als derde heeft het Planbureau voor de Leefomgeving, nou hoe wetenschappelijk wil je het hebben, die hebben gezegd, je moet breder kijken dan stikstof. Als je puur toetst op stikstof, dat zegt eigenlijk niet genoeg over de stand van de natuur. Dus laten we alsjeblieft met deze 3 argumenten op onze zak naar Den Haag gaan en zeggen, zo kunnen wij vergunningverlening niet toetsen en de instandhouding